game, in my opinion.
For sure, but it comes down to what we're going to see, and there's only one way to find out. We are going live into this first map. It's going to be Impulse Gaming UK on the CT side, FM Esports over on the T side. Stanley already leaving the charge, diving up through connectors, going aggressive, Glock in hand, trying to really rock to the very end as the rest of the team actually deciding, you know what, let's go for a bit of a cheeky 180, do a reversal. We're going to B, boys.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to push into B site. Just through short here, 3 members just checking all their angles. They are going to be counter-flashed here, but they're going to now push in, see if they can find anything, but no one at Monster, and they're going to look up, and it looks like all of Impulse will kind of stack towards A here. So now they've got to go and try and take this retake, and Stan is going to just drop down into water, see if he can take a position. And this is going to be hard. All 5 members of Impulse got to try and push through, find anything. They need to get the early pick. Cynic is going to be the first one to push in, but he gets shut down immediately. Samuel responds, and that is 3 members down now for Impulse, just leaving it in a 2v2 situation. Samuel needs to do something. FM Esports members have just retreated, and now he needs to just try and get a kill. You can see he's just looking for anything, but FM are more than happy to sit and wait for this one, as now they pop out as the defuse came through, but defuse isn't going to happen. Samuel pushes in, gets one, needs to find Weber, he needs to go for the defuse and allow his teammate to push him for him, and that will happen. It's just gonna get there. Yes, it is. Great start from Impulse. I'm surprised they were able to push onto the site so successfully, but some really key kills coming out with the USPs.
The big thing with that push is just overwhelming numbers. They kind of relied on that, and yes, they whiffed a couple of shots and they had to go very aggressive with Glocks after swapping out from the USBs. But at the end of the day, overwhelming numbers is one way to take down FM in that sort of scenario, right? Just run at them, full speed ahead, push on short, relying on Jammy to hit a shot as well to get on that defuse. There was 0.2 seconds in that. Making that split-second decision, that's the exact sort of game sense that we were kind of worried we wouldn't see when we were talking pre-game. But nonetheless, it is now going to be Impulse Gaming starting to run away with this one. It was Lambs or Slaughter almost for FM on their T side, and well, all they can do now is lick their boots because they're on P250s. Their response, very much going to be limitless, but oh, damage, the aim of the game. But so far for Nuki, oh, going to be doing damage himself. Famous, a double kill.
And that's what they needed. Just a flawless round from Impulse. We saw them a couple of weeks ago where they really struggled with those kind of anti-eco rounds where they threw away rounds they really shouldn't. So it's great to see them just secure that one. A nice early kill is always going to put you in a good footing for the rest of the round. And now FM are going to be buying up. Thanks to getting that bomb plant earlier, they do have the money. A Bison coming out from Pulse though. Not enough for an AK for himself. So it's not quite a full buy, but I imagine you can just use him as cannon fodder, throw him in first, and see if anything's going to happen.
It's almost just like pouring some chum down in the water and then just trying to wait for the Sharks to come on through, biting as Weber is going to start strong. A quick headshot on towards Nuki, while one-man advantage falling into the corner of the terrace now as they begin their quick push, and unfortunately Jammy, well, he's going to find one, but that's not quite enough. Trades all in favour of the T side at this point. They're picking up all the frags required as well. Stanley planting the bomb down on the B site. And Impulse Gaming are going to be limitless. Ray going to try and at least get himself a quick pick, but he's going to be flashed off the angle over and over again, and that repetition really is going to start to hurt. He drops down a quick reflex Molotov, still waiting for Stanley to peek on towards short. Nearly gets the timing and will eventually get himself a late pick, but Dan, listen to that clock, listen to that bomb. It's keeping on ticking. The 2 versus 3. CTs, they're getting caught off guard.
They are, and they are just going to have to make the decision just to run away and leave this one and just save. Ray does actually pick up a kill, so a little bit of damage control. They take a few weapons off of FM Esports and make their buy a little bit more awkward next, but Ray does need to be careful as Frey is lurking around here, and Ray is going to turn his back and unfortunately get shut down. Nice round for FM Esports. Easy push into B, and that's where I was worried for Impulse Gaming, really. When FM do have that confidence just to push onto a site and win those individual lane battles, it's always going to be difficult to get back into it. Yes, okay, Impulse with the pistols, they were able to win that opening round, but I really feel like the rifle skill on FM is just too strong.
Not only that, but it's actually the economic standpoint that's even kind of almost a bit of a disease now that starts to inflict this CT side, because you look at the scoreline 2-1, that's okay, it still works in favour of the CTs, but then you look at what they have to do in this round. Yes, they have around $3,000, give or take, spread across their players, but that's not enough for rifles, and that's the sour point. They're on these pistols. Yes, they've got some Kevlar on Samuel, they've got a frag grenade, but well, what can they really do with that? It comes back to that same old moot point of, well, go for some frags, try and do some damage, but unless you're hitting some nutty shot with deagles, you're looking at Nuki here, then it's all going to be pointless.
We've seen a few teams struggle in these eco rounds so far in the Premiership, really not going for any sort of risks that you might see on several eco rounds. As another player, Cynic, goes down as well, just leaving 3 of Impulse now. And I am happy that FM haven't just kind of rushed in and said, oh, whatever, they're ecoing, we're better than these players. They've still been very slow, very methodical about their approach. And they've just picked off one by one, and now they're just plotting their way into A. As Samuel may walk into someone here, and he's just going to be sat behind trucks, so he's not going to get hit just yet. But very patient from FM. I'm impressed.
This is just experience. They know that the worst thing they can do at this point is just to decide to go balls to the wall, rush a site, because that's when you do give a door to a Deagle to start spamming away and get some fluke headshots. So instead, going with these calculated Molotovs, still using their smokes, they're still clearing out these angles, taking sensible duels, relying on trades as well, you know, looking at Weber and Neil in that regard. It's the best way to approach it. They're minimizing their losses, and all in all, it's kind of a perfect anti-eco. Jammy is kind of playing around these stairs, and I'll give him credit for that, but at the end of the day, he's just going to be 2 frags overall, and FM, they're going to be happy as anything. They equalise that score 2-2.
Yeah, Jammy with perhaps a little bit of a jammy kill there. Just they're able to take 2 weapons off FM, but I don't feel like that's going to do much damage as they have more than enough money to work with. And Impulse are now going to be forcing up. We do have an AWP in the hands of Nuki, and boy, I'm excited to see what he can do with that. He's done some disgusting things so far this season. Just 2 Famouses to work with Jammy and Ray 1. And Nuki is just going to try and find one. Good night, Fry. And what a way to start the round. This is exactly what he needs to do. He needs to step up. He needs to give his team confidence. And if he can continue to get early picks like that, then Impulse are more than happily going to be staying in this game. He's just going to back off towards A site now, as we do have several players from FM pushing around long, just chucking nades into toilets, see if they can find anything. And good from them, checking all their angles.
Yet again, smart response coming from the side of FM, but look at Cynic's position. He's playing a perfect crossfire now with Nuki, which means that the minute they peek into Cynic, Nuki is going to try and go to work with the AWP. There's that monster that they're trying to almost bait out, start to really arise from the rubble. As Nuki goes for a shot, gets a beautiful tag on towards his opposition, which was Stanley there, I believe, so already early damage yet again to build on down, retreats even further back. The crossfire is going to be broken, but now he has a read on what his opponents are doing, and it really starts to play into the hand of the CT side now. They have all the information. They hold all the cards in their hands. Cynic going aggressive on towards long to catch off Stanley. This is perfect from Impulse, has to be said.
Yep, great hold, and really it's just come from that early frag from Nuki, and now FM are just going to back off, perhaps rotate and decide, look, we're not going to go anywhere near that AWP. If he's hitting shots, we need to be careful here, and they are going to move through Squeaky and see if they can get onto B site. Molotovs will come out as well, just to try and give them a chance pushing onto site. Need flashes as well. Jammy is there, but he is weak. And now Samuel will find one. Looks for the second. Nilzinho is going to go down as well. And Jammy's there to clean up the pieces. A flawless round for Impulse, exactly what they needed. And FM are going to have to try something different.
It wasn't the crossfire over towards A long that we needed to be interested in. Apparently we were missing something over towards B, because Samuel playing around that pillar lines them up to a T, picks up a double kill, gets the assist on the third as well, playing off his teammate. And Impulse making easy work of FM in that round, but you made a huge point. A lot of it started off of the momentum of Nuki's pick, and the question I have off the back of that is how consistent is that going to be, especially when FM are mixing into this round with quick, aggressive Tech 9s.
Well, I'd like to think with the current KD that Nuki has across the season of +16, he should be more than capable. Samuel finds one, gets the spread on, finds another, and now we'll look for more. He's just going to dance around pillar, wait for teammates to help him, but FM do get a couple of picks, just Weber and Nilzinho left. Nilzinho will pick up the AK to work with, and the plant will come down, so good work from them to be able to get into B site. They've got utility to work with as well, so this is definitely more than possible. Nuki needs to get into a position where he can see. You can see he's up there in balcony. Oh, he's dropped down now. He's just waiting, hoping someone's going to push him and get aggressive, as Cynic's now going to push through short. And we'll use flashes to get onto site, as Nuki will find one, they find the other, and the bomb will be defused. A good eco round from FM, but ultimately it will just be another round on the board for Impulse.
It is another round on the board, but that's a crack, right? That's a crack in this huge naval ship that is starting to sink, because Impulse, as much as I want to get behind them for getting these early starts from round, getting to 4-2, it's, hey, what I kind of suggest on the CT side, it still comes back to letting those Tech 9s charge on towards the site like that, getting a bump on, really helps FM with these consistent AK buys, which is, yet again, exactly what we're seeing now. Full utility, full Kevlar, they've got everything they need to go guns blazing into Impulse, and that's where they really have to start up in the game. The Tech 9s seem to be what they're weakest to.
And Nuki is going to take an angle on long this time, see if he can find anyone nice and early with that AWP, but it doesn't look like any of FM are going to be playing ball, as they are gravitating towards B, as we would expect after such an incredible eco round from them, being able to get the bomb down. They've, as you said, they found a crack in the armor, and now they're going to try and work from that. All the utility is coming in. Molotovs, flashes, smokes, everything is, all 5 members are going to slowly push in. Samuel is going to be his point of defense. Jammy goes down from Stan, but Samuel will also get eliminated. So now, just 3 members left from Impulse, and the bomb's going to go down. This is not going to be an easy retake.
Search and destroy is the game that FM are playing right now. They isolate every single player on that site, and now they're pushing Ray even further back. He's got no room to go. He has to sit in this corner, hold that angle, and pray that his team are going to be there to aid him. They're in a 3 versus 5. Their odds really starting to trickle away. Nuki needs to make something work, but Weber is just going to punish him with an AK-47. Ray, Cynic, all next in line. The body bag, well, it's full on up as Impulse is going to be knocked on down. FM with a perfect execution on towards B.
And it's all from that eco round where they just sussed out where the weaknesses were. You hit the nail on the head, really. They said, oh, we can get on there pretty easily just with pistols, so give us some rifles. It should be more than capable of us doing so. So now perhaps Impulse are going to have to change things up slightly, see if they can push someone towards B, because now FM have found a weakness, they're going to try and constantly exploit that.
Yeah, they need to plug this hole soon, and that's going to be the huge point for them now. Nuki has to play on this rifle and going to try and make the best of his position. Cynic, similar sort of storyline, they try to get some early damage, some early nades on towards Weber and Pulse, who are creeping on around this one. If they pop out towards short, this could be a bloodbath. 2 players on either side of that fencing. 2 players that could arguably go for the same level of trade. Who's going to hit their shots? Pulse going to pop one out. They spot them. Nilzini and Weber all will combine. Nil going to find another of these pistols as well. Jammy at least going to find one, a bare minimum. Cynic still looking to respond, but he's just stuck in the fire and the flames. That's a dead giveaway. His Impulse will fall for this one. Hook, line, and sinker. Nuki, well, the last man remaining, and in fairness to him, FM, very, very low across the board. Nilzino just 4 HP, that's a small amount, right? But the bomb is down, it's going to keep on ticking, and FM still 3-1.
Yeah, Nuki may try and go for this one. If he can find anyone on short, as Pulse is just sitting below, if he can spot him, he does have every chance, especially, as you say, Nilzino very weak on health, but the longer this time ticks on, the less chance Nuki has. And Pulse eventually, he is going to get caught out, so now Nuki might decide he's going to push him to site. He's got a little bit of time, so he speeds things up. He is going to be running, he's not going to worry about footsteps. He needs to go for a fake defuse, try and bait someone out, but he baits out Nilzinho, who will finish him off. And now FM, they're starting to swing. They are slowly getting into things here, and Impulse really struggling, and their money is not looking great at all.
Something we didn't touch on in the pre-match segment, which I almost regret now, and it kind of really stings to mind on this 4-4 scoreline, is stamina for Impulse Gaming. We kind of briefly said it in terms of, okay, if they lose that first map 16-10, then they're going to struggle in that second, and we're looking at 16-4, but to dive into that even further, it's really shown in these past couple of rounds, right? They haven't been able to trade these blows with FM. Once they started to build up momentum, this is a train that, well, Impulse, they're just passengers at this point.
They definitely are, as FM now pushing through long. And they'll be confident. They'll know that there is no utility for Impulse, so it should be a relatively simple round. And you can see Impulse have just completely stacked at B. Nuki will be in connector though, and he'll get found out by Pulse. Pulse will look for the second one, see if he can find him as well. But now they're just floating around toilet, and they can just push wherever they like. In a 5v3 situation, this should just be a formality. As Fry is trying to find a couple of members that are now pushing back up to A, so they've sussed out where they are going to be. The Molotovs will come out, and this should be easy, but Jammy hits a headshot onto Fry. Now needs to try and get that weapon. If they can pick up that weapon, there is still every chance in staying in this round, but the bomb looks like it's going to rotate. FM said, nah, we're not having any of it. If you just want to be sitting on A, we'll just rotate round. We'll keep toying with you, playing with you, and make sure we get the best angle possible to push into a site.
Yeah, what we've just done there is really just pick out that store and try to clasp at it, just that shred of hope, the light at the end of the tunnel. But for Impulse, if that only consists of an AK-47, the immediate future is looking pretty bleak. But for now, just save that AK, get some value out of this 9th round, roll into that 10th with some serious weaponry, try and get an AWP up and play as well if you can. And that's where we can start to see yet again a concess, because bear in mind, it is just 4-4. As much as we have that same kind of moot point of aggression from FM and confidence, it's only going to be that 10th round. We still could be looking at something like a 9-6, something Impulse arguably can work with. Definitely.
I mean, Impulse will be happy with the start that they had. They will be a little bit disappointed with the last couple of rounds. They perhaps should have foreseen what FM were going to try after that pistol round. Maybe just stacked a little bit more at B site, maybe switch things up a little bit. Put Nuki there perhaps, as he is the kind of go-to player to get those important kills. However, they are most certainly still in this game, and they do have a little bit of money. They should be able to buy up fully here. Yes, they will. They won't have an incredible amount of utility, but they're definitely going to have weapons to work with. So now FM will have to be slow once again. They'll have to think about their approach. Will they be predictable if they go B? That's what they're going to be thinking. But I think FM have done enough. They have been versatile enough to go between A and B that they've just kept Impulse guessing here.
But look at them, they're just going guns blazing, charging forward yet again, uncontrollable aggression. It is just going to be a trade. Nuki batting it forward up against Pulse. But does that leave the door wide open for FM? That's the question we're looking for. Jammy in a huge position right now. He's either going to completely collapse and that B site is going to be taken, unless Samuel can go huge, but this is really where things really start to build up now. We're looking for the ingredients that Impulse have and waiting to see what they can build out of it now. As it is going to be a flash. Jammy toying with the idea of peeking. If he peeks here and gets taken down, yet again, another negative, should we say, as that clock is going to begin to roll. Look at Fair as well, just tithering on the edge of Monster. A long flash is going to go up in the air. Eventually is going to pop. That's going to lead the charge, but Jammy goes for the spray down. But the shots do not quite connect. There will Samuel will fall the pillars. Well, as predicted, the minute he falls, the minute FM get the site, Impulse Gaming, he pretty much can't do anything now.
We spoke about the cross of Jammy and Samuel earlier on, and we said that it was doing pretty well, but unfortunately they need to be finding these entries. They need to at least be trading if they're going to be keeping their team in the game. And you spoke earlier, you said perhaps that's the opening when Nuki goes down, and I think you're right. I mean, I don't want to give too much. I don't want to put too much on Nuki's shoulders. But if he is the first to go down, and you've got 4 members left who aren't as confident, then of course FM are going to be thinking, right, okay, we can probably push in here. We've probably got better aims than the rest of these. And Cynic will just be dancing around the playground, seeing if he can find anything here. But Noise will be a standing point. And Stan is just going to back off, throw as much utility as he can. But they really want to save these weapons, and FM are going to try and hunt them here. Right, he's probably just going to push through this smoke. Ray will find one of them, finds another, and will Cynic survive with this M4? Just about. Just about. And there is a little bit of money. There is a choice now for Impulse whether they are going to buy up here.
I think looking at the fact they have that M4, I'd like to see them go into this one, and that is what the answer is going to, well, be foretold almost, especially with the AWP coming towards Samuel. That should get thrown around, but at the same time, because he has no Kevlar, they'll almost go for this glass cannon strategy on towards Sam. Now, the concern I have for Sam is, looking at that spray down in particular, he's been caught in a lot of, well, ironically, jammy situations. He's just been quickly taken down by streak headshot here and there, so if that happens again when he's got this AWP, there is no helmet to protect him. Doesn't matter anyway with these AKs, but looking at Stanley in that regard, it could get very, very awkward very, very quickly. And connector control is going to be a bit of a point here, which why we're seeing Cynic and Nuki start to adapt with that, getting on top of that, well, nicely crafted boost, I guess you can say. But the split from FM, it's just standard stuff. They've practiced this over and over again, and they get the frags almost comfortably. No response being made. Damage, yeah, it's going to be done. Stanley just 30 HP. Ray is going to peek directly into him. But Stanley's still going to survive, not taking a single point of damage in that duel.
It's a shame we missed that, because I kind of feel like Impulse got caught with their pants down a little bit in connector. We saw them briefly just poking through and trying to get an angle through that window. And I feel like FM just walked down those stairs and found 2 people stood on each other's heads. And they were like, oh, okay, 2 free kills here. As now, they will get the plant, and they will eliminate the rest of Impulse. And Impulse are slowly slipping away from this game. They wasted a lot of money buying up there, and now they have to make the decision yet again. Look, we haven't got an incredible amount of money. Do we buy up here? Do we save a little bit? I think they have to probably buy up, but it looks like they're just going to go for the decision to Eco.
It's 5 in a row at the end of the day, and when you're looking at that sort of economy for Impulse, what are they actually going to buy up? What sort of weaponry are they going to get left with? In reality, you're looking at probably bleak SMGs, and, well, 5 UMPs, yes, UMP, a very strong weapon, a huge argument point of CSGO currently, but it's not quite enough. So Eco, I'd say the smartest call, they can get some Kevlar up behind that as well, which still leaves this aura of possibility if they can get some cheeky headshots here and there, perhaps try and find a frag on towards Nilzinho. But that's very, very easy for me to sit here and say, but a lot harder to execute in the server.
One thing I've noticed about kind of ESL Prem in general so far is that teams aren't, they're very reluctant to kind of slow the clock down a little bit and push in a little bit later. I mean, if we look at VP throughout the major over this weekend, they were more than happy to wait until just 30 seconds remaining before they pushed in. As Fry actually will get the spray down onto Nuki. But my point was, teams get a little bit twitchy as that clock kind of counts down a little bit. As FM now will push in and just find everyone, and just Ray 1 surviving. What are your thoughts on that? Is it just the kind of mix situation where you don't have as much strategy, so you want to give yourself as much time as possible when pushing onto a site?
Well, the beauty of VP, to kind of really isolate that point, is VP, when they run down that clock, they're still using their time constructively. One thing about time in CSGO is it's a commodity. You're trading it back and forth with your opponent. You don't want to let the CT side kind of play that into their hands, because the CT side get the clock to 25 seconds and FM have gained no ground, at least in the context of this match. That's actually a huge disadvantage for FM. So the reason why we don't see that as much in the UK CSGO community is, to be honest, a lot of teams don't know how to manage their time and actually make sure they're not just standing there idling, holding an angle. Because standing at the default isn't the best way to spend a minute 50 of a map.
Nuki just trying to get an angle here. Should find Pulse, which he does, and backs off immediately. Stan is going to try and get the trade, but Nuki will be able to retreat accordingly, and that's fantastic that he's been able to stay alive, as they now do have the man advantage. And this is what we saw in a round about 4 rounds ago, when Nuki was able to get that early pick. Impulse were able to hold, as Niels is just pushing round long here with an AWP, but he doesn't manage to find Ray, and Ray will get the trade. And now there's just 3 members of FM left. And it is going to be very difficult, but they know B-site is weak, so it is definitely doable. If they can push in and still take down Samuel and Jammy, as they have been so fantastically, then it's a 3v3 situation and everything to play for.
Samuel very nearly on the cusp of falling there, though, with that very nicely crafted boost coming in from the side of FM. They don't quite spot him out, but they have some information they think they can play with anyhow, so they are going to go for this push on towards the B side. And look at Samuel. He could go huge here. He could win this round alone, but no, he sits tight. He misses the shots, and Weber and Frey will take full advantage of Impulse Gaming. They are stuck yet again in a 3 versus 3. Now they have to retake, and Stanley's position is going to be a huge wrench in the work as Nuki trying to make it work with the AWP. He's just going to try and hold, waiting for Stanley to finally peak, but he's experienced, he's patient, he's not just going to go off the handle at any random moment. It's going to be calculated, it's going to be smart, and he's got a caller in his ear telling him how to approach this.
Yes, somehow FM turned a disadvantage into an advantage. Nuki will find Stan though, so now it's 2v3 situation. Cynic getting a little bit twitchy, tries to find one. Ray1 will pick off Ray, and it's just Weber left. He is in the smoke. The defuse will come through. Cynic needs to be careful with his reload. He's going to be taken down, but Cynic will be able to get there in the end and should have just about enough time. But FM made a round from nothing there.
That could have been quite something. If that last kill was claimed, that could have been one hell of a round in the nick of time. But as you mentioned, building a round that was fairly far down at this point, already at a 2-man disadvantage, and converting that into being able to get on towards the B site. I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, because I feel like I'm getting myself in this already pretty repetitious loop. But take a wild guess what word I'm going to say, and I'll give you a clue. It begins with E.
I don't know. What are you going to say?
Experience.
Oh, I thought you should... All I can think is Samuel and Jamie are just really struggling on B site. They cannot hold anything at the moment.
I think that's fair.
And FM are really taking advantage of that. Even though they were in a 3v5 situation, they just knew how weak, they know how weak they are at B site. So I really want to see Impulse switch things up slightly and just say, okay, our B hold is really weak. That's where they're punishing us at the moment. And you can see now there are 3 members at this B site, so they have directly responded to that previous round.
The big thing though is going to be the shotgun. Samuel trying to fly off the handle here with a Max 7. Jamie is going to begin to build up with one with that M4. Samuel still holding around this pillar. It is going to be Frey though over in that pit to take advantage of Ray, but a quick trade nonetheless is going to buy Samuel some time, but he missed the frag on short, which yet again leaves the door open for FM. Impulse Gaming, they've been shut out of this site. Surprise, surprise, it's getting almost to be a bit of an odd story at this point. It's Cynic getting the long duel up on towards Nilzenia, but he's unable to find the frag. It's putting him in the dirt now, in a trench, trying to dig out of a 1 versus 3. The escape menu ever so beautiful, but nonetheless it's back into the action. Cynic standing in the smoke. The escape menu perhaps, oh, the better profit in this one.
Yep. The game will be resumed. I had so many things when you said something begin with E, but nothing led me to anything that was logical. I said it will find Nilzenio now. He's not going to be able to do anything to actually win this round, but just being able to destroy some of that weaponry from FM will be great, but there's going to be more than enough money to work with for FM now, and Cynic just needs to stay alive because saving this M4 will be very important.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge part of their kind of growing economy, and we're getting into what is going to be this final round, and what I want to ask you is your impression on whether you think the 6-9 or the 10-5 and kind of how different they are.
I mean, every round makes an incredible difference, and I think it's a momentum boost. If anything, if Impulse can win the last round of the half, you're going in on a boost. You're saying, okay, we've taken the last round, we can now push on from that. Momentum's going to be great. They're going to be really excited. They're going to be back in the game, they feel. However, if it's 10-5, they're going to be a little bit down on themselves. They're going to be a little bit worried. They're going to be thinking, if we lose this pistol, we're pretty much out of this game. So I think a 9-6 is very different to a 10-5. I mean, what about you? What's your personal thoughts on that?
I think you sum it up kind of nice and comfortably. The concern with it, though, is that Impulse Gaming, they searched long and hard in their tool belt, but all they've managed to find is an array of pistols with just one rifle. And does that cut it up against FM when they're barreling in with AK-47s? You tell me. Look at the scoreboard right now. It's already a 4 versus 3, 2 of which on Jamie and Ray are just those 5.7s and Deagles. Yep,
no M4 to work with now as well. Cynic has gone down, and unfortunately that leaves B open for the taking again, I believe. And I wouldn't be surprised if FM make that decision to rotate round, as Fry will find Ray 1 as well. So we are left with the solo defenders of Jamie and Samuel, who have been overrun so many times here at B site. But Samuel does find a pick with the FAMAS. He will probably trade out and get an AK instead. He's just... They've actually rotated out of B site. They have been baited, absolutely. But I don't really blame them for trying something different, for trying the rotation. They've held B site so often and just been punished for it. But now they have to go for a retake, and I feel like that's going to be extremely difficult. Weber taking an interesting position here, finds Jamie. Samuel will get the trade, but now he has all to do in this final round of the first half. Molotov will come down just to slow him down. He pretty much has to push through this if he wants any chance of winning this round, but he is going to wait it out and hope that there's going to be plenty of time. Flashbang will come out, help him get onto site. One of the members is weak. If he can look up and find Stan in balcony, but they are not playing ball. They are more than happy to stay away and just wait for that defuse tap. He didn't even have a kit either. And FM will finish the first half 10-5, and I think that may be detrimental to Impulse's morale.
Almost certainly, kind of one huge point to touch on this B site. Yet again, a site that we talked about so acutely in regards to how this game has gone in this first half is that bomb plant spot. FM, every single time they planted it right in that corner, effectively what is known as default. They played from heaven, they played from graffiti, and that crossfire was so damn strong at shutting down Impulse in any of their retakes.
Yeah, Impulse didn't get the chance to retake anything really. They really struggled, and FM have definitely found the weakness of Impulse, and that was B site, and now it's going to be a case of whether those players, Jammy and Samuel, whether they can pick things up on the terrorist side. I mean, FM looked fairly comfortable. They did struggle to start with, but they definitely found their groove, I feel. And now we will be going into the second half, and what's going to happen for Impulse if they're going to get back into this?
It's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to start strong and start picking up these rounds and maybe still going to end at a 16-10 fashion or potentially a win, but that feels very hopeful at this point. The worst case scenario, we still could be looking at something like a 16-6 and a 16-7.
I mean, how many times do we say, like, if you win Pistol, they probably won the game
Quite
for
a lot.
FM now, and it just seems to be such a deciding factor, this second Pistol. And Impulse did take the first Pistol, so they've definitely got that to work with, and they will have that hope in their minds, as now Jammy will drop down ladder, see if he can find anything, but there are several members of FM waiting, and just 2 kills there from Pulse. That's why he was the player to watch for this game. He has such a fantastic aim, and that has started off the round perfectly. The rest of Impulse now will have to push into B site very quickly. They may be able to get this bomb down if they're fast, but they need to be careful as FM are swarming in. The smoke is down, so the bomb will go down. Money will be had, but they are definitely not going to be winning this round.
Yeah, this is a complete and utter bloodbath. One way to get brushed aside is to pretty much do just that. It's so unfortunate for Impulse because they were in a really solid spot in their initial push, but Pulse taking them down with a quick double kill and connector, and then equaling up to Nilzinho going aggressive on that site, playing right on the other side of that smoke and just tapping on through and getting that headshot. That's a lethal recipe if I've ever seen one before.
It is, and that may be game over. I hate to say it, but I struggle to see Impulse getting back into it, but we have seen crazier things happen so far in the ESL Premiership. I remember Fish coming back from a 10-2 deficit to win a game on Mirage, so I will still have hope, as now we will see Impulse just 5-man rushing through Connector here, but unfortunately for them, a Molotov will stop them quickly in their tracks, and they are now going to have to back off and rethink their strategy here.
Nuki, though, is going to get the quick tap on towards Pulse, so something to be added to the pot for Impulse Gaming right now. They're going to gain that UMP. Nuki has Kevlar as well. It's just 6 HP, so more likely still going to throw that away nonetheless. But hey, host, make something out of nothing, I guess, is the saying that really springs to mind, as they are going to set up some fancy smokes here and there. That's going to give them an entryway up on towards A if they choose it, but it seems to be a bit of a fake. They just want to bulk up and head towards B, which could be very, very risky when you're looking at the likes of Stanley, backed up even further by Frey on that site, and he's going to get all the information. Look at Stanley. This is perfect. They're not even checking this one. Nuki will be the last man to check. He's the 5th man right behind them, and the only man to check it. That's just... mistakes were made, is the easiest way to describe that. Yes, they're on the site. Yes, they can even get a bomb down, but Dan, I'm not seeing any hope.
And it's just the simplest of things. We saw it last week. Endpoint, even some experienced players weren't checking their angles, and when you are the 5th player to walk through and you get taken down by an angle that you expect to have been checked, it can be very heartbreaking, and that's when arguments can arise during a team. But it is just Ray 1 left. He does have an M4, but unfortunately, he doesn't have a bomb. So now his mission is just to try and survive. Unless he can just push in out of balcony and find 2 players here. Stanley will walk into his path, so that is 1. That is a start, but Nilzinho will be crouching and waiting to finish him off and put a 12th round on the board for FM Esports.
It's just a simple off angle from Nilzinho that bangs that one home, and it does put us at 12-5, which is very, very, well, a sour note almost for Impulse Gaming, and it's been a few times we've seen 16-5 scorelines, and I'm not trying to kind of demotivate them by saying it's going to be 16-5. They're on a full line now. This is probably one of their big chances to step up some rounds, but in the way these have gone, the mistakes, they're getting simpler and simpler, and it's just not quite what we want to see in this first map.
I am excited to see what Impulse do try here. You said that they've been practicing overpass, so I'm expecting some sort of elaborate kind of execution from them, as this boost will be absolutely fantastic, but Pulse will get shut down by Nuki. He says no. He looks up to the skies and manages to find him, so a great response from Nuki despite not getting the first shot there. And now they've got the 5v4 advantage, and this is exactly what they need to be getting back into this game. Nuki is being patient, just in case anyone is going to push up, but Samwell will be shut down by Stanley. And now it is 4-4, and the bomb will be picked up by Jammy. And he's just aware in case anyone is lurking. needs to get back with his team, and Impulse need to make a decision of where they're going to go. At the moment, they're just waiting to see if FM are going to be pushing out, whether they're going to get overzealous and see if they can catch anyone off guard. But now FM have had their fun, and they've dropped back to the sites.
Weber is getting so much information right now. He's hearing all of these footsteps. He's knocking them together in his mind and saying, okay, that's 3 players. Oh, wait, no, that's 4 players. And it's the same sort of circumstance we saw in that previous round about, okay, now the entirety of his team know what to set up against. They know what flashes to throw. They know what smokes to throw. It's pinpoint perfection in terms of setup, but Jamie and Ray, they're still landing their headshots. They still pride their way into this one. This is perfect. Cynic, just another. Frags, apparently so much better than information. FM making a blunder. Weber is going to find 1, but 1 is not quite enough.
Perhaps a way back into the game for Impulse. That's what they've just got to do. They've just got to hit the headshots. They're more than capable of taking those angles. They know how they want to push, but if FM are going to respond with headshots of their own, that's when it becomes a struggle for Impulse Gaming. I really felt that they weren't on the ball with their CT side. They weren't winning those individual battles. They weren't even getting those trades, and that's what allowed FM to just run a train through them on their terrorist side. But now Impulse, if they can start to warm up, if they can push together and find these kills, then there is still every chance of getting back into it. And now FM will be on an eco of their own. And we'll be trying to find anything. There's 2 players just sitting connected here and hoping that Impulse will make that decision to push down ladder again. But I'm not sure Pulse will be able to get a double kill this time.
For sure, and I think another thing to mention as well is for Impulse Gaming, the one thing that's going to be running through their mind is bring back that form that they played through the invite qualifiers, because they were flawless. That has to be said. That's one of the reasons they're here, right? Flawless performance, not dropping a single map. So if they can keep that together and start to really channel that energy now into something, you know what? There is a chance, but it's a very small shred of hope. We need to see a little bit more data to see how that's going to go, and what a solid start is to try and take down these pistols. Nuki trying to just worm his way through toilets for the most part. Just trying to hunt down a few pistols here and there, but well, his mission is a bit awry so far. Hasn't been able to isolate just a single player just yet. FM pretty much stacking towards the A site now, beginning their rotate, and this could be pretty dangerous for the T side if they do allow them to tap some heads with these P250s. Yeah,
and the push will come in. Ray1 will get the opening one onto Niels, though he looks elsewhere, looks through the smoke, but Stanley will get him through the smoke, so that's a lucky one for him. Cynic gets the shot onto Weber, and now we're on board with Samo. It's a 3v2 situation, gets absolutely destroyed by Stanley, who finds a third onto Jamie as well, and it's a 2v1. Nuki with everything to do. We said he's been the player to watch, but can he take on 2 players? We'll find the first, looks for the second now, just Pulse remaining, and if Pulse gets this would be incredible for FM. Nuki is just going to have to slow things down and try and take an angle, but Pulse outwits him, and somehow FM have taken that round.
It's all on the timing with Pulse's position change to get over on towards that bomb box the minute Nuki pulls away, and that has to be heartbreaking. Start tugging on your heartstrings, stop playing that violin, because for Impulse Gaming, that is pretty much a lethal blow now, it has to be said. You started to believe, and that started to rub off on me. I thought maybe we're going to be seeing something now. Maybe it was worth getting behind them and not knocking them down every single time. What does that say?
It says Stanley did a phenomenal job with a pistol. That's what it says. He got that opening spray with the CZ through the smoke and then just pushed out. He was saying, like, well, I found one. Even if I die to a trade here, I've done my job. And he was able to find 2 more. As Ray is going to push through smoke here, but unfortunately he's going to be greeted by a member of the CT force. And this could be Wham Bang Thank You Man for Fry. He only finds 1 in the end, so now they should be able to push on to B site. And Stanley is just going to back off. Finds 1 though. We'll look for another, and the spray that will come through. Finds all 4. And Stanley continuing his form from the previous round and slowly putting Impulse to bed here.
FM doing their job in just 39 seconds. That's all it takes them to shut down a round, it seems, run up against these pistols, doing a much cleaner affair of it all in all in comparison to what Impulse were able to do on their CT side. And that's where, yet again, it's the same old moot point that will prevail. The question that has to be asked is, at least on pistols, are Impulse Gaming going to put up a bit of a fight, or is this just a limp drag right up to the merry end? And second map, starting to be a bit of a point in itself. Weber, over towards Connector, though, is going to try and do some damage. Nuki is going to end his teammate, but at least with pistols, the future, it's looking bleak.
Yep, I don't think the round was ever on the cards, and when that Molotov came down, they knew they had to go through the fire and flames if they were going to be able to do anything, but unfortunately they just walked into M4s, and it's never going to be a Samuel now, just on his own. Just going to try and see if he can get any sort of kill here, but knives will come out, and Weber will finish off the round. Just 1 more remaining for this first map win, and I'm impressed with FM, I've got to say. I thought they might underestimate Impulse, and it could go against them, but they were fairly flawless on the terrorist side after a shaky start, and now they found their confidence. They were always going to dominate on a counter-terrorist side.
For sure, but the biggest thing that really springs to mind for me is the fact they've given Impulse respect. They haven't played this like a puck. They haven't just zerged around the place and said, yeah, we're just going to out-aim you in every single style. They've actually had to play standard CS, and I like that because that's where Impulse Gaming can, well, at least improve. But for now, their final chance, the big hurrah, it's a push on towards the B site. They're trying to chime on through this one. Nuki straight through a smoke. He's down in the murky depths of the water. Cynic picks up a double kill, shutting down Stanley, a huge player. Frey going for one of his own, but Cynic yet again tots it up to a triple kill. Now looking for a quadra in this one as Ray tries to pin down Connector, waiting to see if Weber is going to present the fruits of his loins almost as he gets himself ready, set to go and peek into it. But it's going to slow right on down. That bomb is going to tick. A smoke dropped in reflex. And Weber not quite sure how to approach this one just yet. Is he waiting on Pulse to come in from behind?
What a take from Impulse, though. Maybe that's what it needs. They just need to be 15-6 down, and they're like, okay, we're just going to push in, we're just going to throw smokes everywhere, and Cynic is able to get those kills. And I mean, they just need to do that every round. Simple as that.
Yeah, Cynic's just going to walk into the B site, get a triple kill, just a couple of cheeky headshots here and there. I mean, that's not too much to ask, right?
No, I think he can do it. They can bring this back to overtime for sure. But, I mean, I hope still alive. I'd like to think that Impulse are an optimistic side. As you said, there is a lot of belief in this side, and I
think to get hyped.
Yeah, they should get hyped, and I think you're right touching on the fact that FM have had to play Counter-Strike against Impulse. They have respected them, even on rounds where they knew Impulse were ecoing, they still slowed things down. They said, we're not going to give them anything, we're not going to give them an inch, and we're going to play this properly, and that is a great respect for Impulse, and they should take a lot from that. But it will be this kind of time where they will already be thinking about the second map. They will already be thinking about what they should be vetoing next. And they're thinking, right, we've been practicing on overpass, and we've not been able to break through the FM wall. Where else are we going to be able to find a possible point? As Samwell now just trying to find anything on short. They are a man down, and they don't really know where they're going to push yet. They're just trying to get any kind of information, trying to get any sort of pick to give them an inkling of where they're going to be pushing. But unfortunately, FM are not playing ball again. Even though FM 15-7 up, they are still concerned about throwing this one away. They are not going to be pushing out willy-nilly. They're going to be keeping their positions and holding it tight.
It really says it all about Impulse Gaming, though. It shows that teams are expecting them to put up a fight, and what a fight it has been. You've got to give credit. Some of their rounds have been very, very strong. But what they're going to show us, and what could be potentially the last. Cynic, yet again, looking for these headshots. This time, unable to find them. He's going to be the first to hit the deck, as Weber going to do the work with the AWP. Nuki going to go aggressive, but gets peeked by two players, and he quite can't handle the pressure of that one. As Nilzino ups the ante, finds out a double kill of his own. Pulse is going to end it. It's going to be a headshot on towards Ray, and FM Esports take this first map 16-7.
A convincing fashion, but I think the main thing to take from this is they did respect Impulse, and Impulse were putting up a fight to start with. Like, I mean, it was they were 4-2 up, and then it went to 4-4, and then the FM train started chugging, and that was where Impulse really struggled. They just couldn't get back into the game, and ultimately the CT side from FM was too strong as well. Some bold moves from Impulse, but still a lot to work on if they are going to be able to take down rosters like FM, to be honest.
It comes back to something I mentioned right at the start of this, which is learn to walk before you can run. I like the idea of them going for bold moves, but I feel like the best bet for them right now is practice those defaults, practice a couple of entries onto these sites as well on that T side. You know, look at Nuki going aggressive on short with the AWP. That's simple stuff, and that's smart, but get a little bit more of that down, and then we could start to really see something. Because at the end of the day, it's a 16-7. A couple more battle rounds really could start to sway things. It wasn't all doom and gloom as much as it did feel it in the match.